And welcome back to Shovicks Sports Hit. I'm Cory.
And I am Austin.
A couple notes to start off this week's episode. Gaining really good followers on Instagram, and also just listening to our podcast in general. Saw people from Mexico, Massachusetts. I think there was some Nevada, and there was one other country. It's one of those ones over there that I just don't understand, and I'm not even going to try to pronunciate. So again, thank you to all you guys. That was kind of our goal of creating that Instagram page, was to get it out there, and then following all these other good podcasters and collaborating with them and getting ideas from them, to kind of see, one, when we can go on their show, or two, they come on our show, vice versa. And then, just ways that we can make our stuff better. I mean, I know we put our video up last week and it didn't have any of our edits on it, which kind of sucks. We spent all that time making graphics, and then as we were looking at it, we were like, fuck, none of that made it on there. So we're going to, again, no major graphics for this episode, but we do have some that we're going to throw on there. So thank you to the new followers. We really appreciate it, and we're hoping that now that we have video and graphics, it'll just do a little bit more of a boost in what we're getting view-wise.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. We're getting people from all over. I know we've said it before on previous shows that specifically when talking about sports, it's kind of always good to just get other point of views, which is what I'm most excited about. But also just the opportunity to just meet new people and whatnot. So I do think it's pretty awesome, and hopefully have some of them join. We join some of theirs moving forward. I think that's something to be really excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I posted a couple pictures last week. Last week was our award show, so I posted something about MVPs, or who people would select as their MVPs. The options were Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Blitz 6 podcast, he commented, said he hopes Henry stays healthy. Just the last couple of years, the Ravens and the running backs have been cursed. I'm pretty sure that sounds like he thinks Derrick Henry could be the answer in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, I love that response. I think if you've listened to any of the previous episodes, a couple different ones, I've been huge on Derrick Henry. He would be my first non-quarterback choice for MVP. Just realistically, the MVP is almost always a quarterback, which is why I chose a quarterback. But I love the idea of Derrick Henry, so appreciate that feedback, and I kind of agree with him.
Yeah, and then the second one, obviously I was super hyped after Bo Nix the other day, obviously. Get my hopes up. Hey, it's been 8 years. All right, it's been 8 years. Let me live. So I put the question on Instagram: is Bo Nix QB1 week 1? Mixed reviews on it, actually, kind of surprising. But it was also nice to see someone else's perspective that's not a Broncos fan, right? So the Chosen League, great feedback from him. He and I chat a couple times on here so far. He's really fun to interact with, and they have some good shit that they post on Instagram as well. His comment was he's going to sit back and learn first year. When the opportunity presents itself, he will be ready. He does have the traits that that align, keyword, that align with Drew Brees and what Sean Payton's looking for. He didn't say they were like. He didn't say he was Drew Brees. He said they align with Drew Brees. He's great awareness in the pocket, and he gets the ball out quick and it's tough to sack. I think I saw the stat where he was averaging 1.3 ball release, and then for context, Russ Wilson averaged 3.06 ball release last season. So what's your thoughts on that? And obviously you're not a Broncos fan. You don't give a shit too much. I mean, obviously we talk about the Broncos and the Chiefs on here. So what's your thoughts on that comment about, maybe it is him, he sits for a year and kind of just waits for that right time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that comment is how it would be in a perfect world. Ideally, because more quarterbacks, I think, have been successful if they've been able to sit behind a quality veteran, not necessarily Jared Stidham or Zach Wilson per se, but I think in a perfect world, that would be what Denver and Sean Payton would hope would happen. I just think with how shitty that quarterback room is, I don't know if he can sit the full year. I don't know if he starts week 1. That's kind of TBD. I do think they would like him to sit as long as he can. But this isn't, the Aaron Rodgers to Brett Favre or the Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers to Patrick Mahomes to Alex Smith situation where there's a quality veteran. I don't know if Denver will remain patient enough for that to happen. So I think in a perfect world, that comment is accurate. I just don't think Denver's quarterback room is in a perfect world. So I think he starts sooner.
Yeah. And I like it because it was perspective from the outside, right? And like you said, in a perfect world, yes, you'd love him to sit. We're not in the perfect world. Well, Broncos fans, we're not in the perfect world right now. We want shit now. And nothing gets me less excited for the season than hearing Zach Wilson or Jared Stidham. I do like Zach Wilson making the roster over Jared Stidham just because he's a younger. Arm talent's definitely way better. I get Jared Stidham's been in the system, but that's not the point right now. So The Chosen League, go find them on Instagram, Blitz 6 Podcast. Go find them on Instagram as well. Thank you guys for the feedback. We hope to interact with you guys more on there. Any comments on either of those before we get into the hits?
No, just appreciate the feedback. Keep it coming. Go give our friends a follow, a listen, a shout out. That's good feedback, good point of views. Looking forward to more of that each week.
Yes, we had some breaking news prior to us getting on here, literally like 5 minutes before us getting on here. Patriots trading pass rusher Matthew Judon to the Falcons for a third-round pick. That is number 3 on the Shovicks Sports Hits this week. I think we both were like, damn, solid pickup for Atlanta. I mean, it's a third-round pick, 2025 third-round pick. That's solid value.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a Pro Bowl pass rusher who's not necessarily aging. I mean, I know he's not like a rookie or anything, but the dude's still a Pro Bowler recently. He's immediately the best pass rusher Atlanta's had in a long time. I mean, if you know pay attention to football a lot, that's always been kind of the one thing that every year they think the Falcons are going to address. And
they never do.
Yeah, and they were talking that they were kind of in on like Montez Sweat and
Hassan Reddick.
I think them playing the long patient game, I think they got the best one. He's kind of gone unnoticed the last few years, just given how bad the Patriots have been, but it was not because of him. So Falcons are putting together a sneaky good defense to go with a lot of offensive talent in a very winnable division. So I think it's a great move. I got to just say right now, I don't know if that's who I picked before on one of our episodes, but right now, just with the additions and whatnot, I think they've got to be the favorites for that division.
Yeah, and the other thing with the Falcons is Justin Simmons met with him. So, I mean, there's still a chance that Justin Simmons ends up signing with Atlanta. No new information on that. He visited with the Saints also, but I think most recently was with Atlanta. Damn, that'd be an awesome pickup for Atlanta if they were able to get Justin Simmons for, the 1 year, $4 million deal that some of these other safeties have been signing. You're getting an all-pro basically, and then pair him with Jesse Bates. Holy cow! Now you got your front, got some good linebackers. Now your secondary with AJ Terrell also solid. So let's go to number 2. Again, breaking news today: JJ McCarthy torn meniscus out for the season. That's kind of shitter for him. That's a year of development. That's kind of I know torn meniscus. Not a doctor. Never had a torn meniscus myself. It may take some time. Anytime you get something cut on your body and someone has to go in and surgically fix something, it takes a little time. Luckily, we're in a day and age where he should be back stronger next year. But that's a year of development, and Sam Darnold couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I was kind of reading up on that, and I saw one of the reasons for the injury was because he threw more passes in his first preseason game than he did in his college career, and he couldn't handle the workload. So, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but it lines up, it adds up, it sounds right. But no, you're spot on. It's not necessarily from a wins and losses standpoint this year. I don't know if there was a lot of wins expected, but when you have a highly drafted quarterback and you lose that year of development on that rookie deal, that is brutal. Sam Darnold is probably stoked. I don't know if I'd say maybe not stoked. I don't think he wishes injuries on anyone. But he has to look at it as kind of his last hope. Shit lined up for him to get one more shot, it seems. So good for him, but it's a brutal blow just for the short-term outlook for the Vikings.
Yeah, now it opens up for Sam Darnold in the sense of now he doesn't have to look over his shoulder. He can play well and try to get another contract. I mean, signed a $10 million deal this year with the Vikings. Hopefully maybe next year he gets a multi-year deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason he can't just Matt Flynn it, have a good season, and go sign a $70 million contract. Like, quarterbacks, man, you have even the slightest bit of hope attached to you, you'll get paid enough somewhere. So it helps that he has great weapons to throw to that can kind of elevate him. He's never really had that in a place where he's played. Obviously, he had that in San Fran, but he wasn't really a guy there.
Yeah, no.
But he's never had this when he was with the Jets, or really Panthers. So he has an opportunity to make something, but obviously just hope JJ recovers quick, no speed bumps, no further issues, and hope we can see him next year. We know I kind of like Michigan and their players, so I was kind of excited for it, but I guess
Yeah,
we'll
I thought
have
he
to
was
wait.
going to fit. I thought he was going to fit that system rather well too. So, Hollywood Brown hurt his shoulder, similar to
Why?
Tyreek Hill. I know. So with that, it was already kind of a question mark with the Chiefs receiver room, kind of. You know, Matt Nagy says that the thing that helps Kadarius Toney out the most is if he's on the field. He's not on the field, so that's not really helping him right now. We can't really evaluate him. So you lose him 4 to 6, maybe longer. I don't. Again, I'm not a doctor, but just they're saying 4 to 6 weeks. Tyreek had a similar injury. I don't really remember that one. Any concerns with wide receiver room?
No, especially with it not looking likely that Rashee Rice is going to miss any time. At least, I don't want to say this entire season, but not early on. It looks like decisions are still being made. So having him, Travis, having Worthy, I think we're okay. Obviously, you want Hollywood Brown out there. That was kind of your alpha veteran that you brought in. But it's still better off than it was last year and made it work enough. So if it is a 4 to 6 week injury and he only misses a few weeks of the regular season, they'll be fine. You know, Justin Watson's still someone who, as our third or fourth right now, he's been our 1 or 2 some weeks recently. So no concerns yet. It does put a little bit more emphasis on staying healthy. Everyone else don't really have much more room. We don't want Tony. We don't want Sky Moore. We don't want those people out there on a regular basis. So I'm curious to see if that changes Andy Reid's mindset on how much or at all if starters play or not. It wasn't even really like a bad hit or a big hit. It was just kind of a wrong landing, kind of an awkward catch that he had and brought down weird. So that's what I'm more curious about is if that changes starters playing at all or how much. I don't want any more injuries before the season. That's the worst part about preseason.
You said it. We said it last week with preseason starting. Not only fantasy football purposes, just to really, really you sweat it out, especially those who have already drafted, right? So you've done your draft. Now you're just texting with the boys, making sure you're like, holy shit, let's just, why the fuck are the starters still in the game? Get my fucking running back out of the game, please. My receiver just rolled an ankle. What the hell? So, yeah, preseason, as excited as we are about it, we are absolutely not thrilled, especially now the rate the injuries are happening. So, speedy recovery for Hollywood Brown. I think he'll be fine. And again, if the Chiefs start slow, okay, you're still playing 17 games, and you're still in your AFC West. So I think my favorite story over the last few days is Hassan Reddick putting it out there that he's requested a trade. And like 2 minutes later, after he said that, the Jets came back and said, hold the fuck up. We've informed Hassan Reddick we will not be trading him. And he's expected to be with his teammates and the team. And then that he will continue to be fine per CBA. That's big flex from GM Joe Douglas. Like, okay, cool, you can request it all you want, dude, but nah.
Yeah, I try to be understandable from both points of view, the player and the owner. Like, the players are the employee, the owners are the boss, and it's become more of an employee-led decision-making league, which is fine. They're the ones out there. But from a business standpoint, I can respect the Jets GM on this one. I don't respect a lot of what the Jets do or have or say or whatnot, but I like them coming out immediately and just being like, look, man, you still technically have to play. Just because the status quo is this is the time people get extensions, we have to do it. You're still going to get paid. You still have a contract. Come earn a bigger contract if you want it. But, I'm always for the players getting their bag, but I completely understand, like, you signed a contract. You can see it through.
Yeah, and you had to have known when you're requesting your trade, the Jets probably said, hey, we're not really looking to extend you right now. He's like, okay, bet, but I'm still going to get traded over there. Maybe, things will change once I'm in the building. And they're sitting back like, nah, bro, we literally told you we're not really looking to do that. We're still not going to do that. So that'll be an interesting thing to kind of watch over the next few weeks.
It's always the Jets.
It really is.
Go in with no issues, no drama. Like it always has to be something. Now, granted, this is probably their best case scenario as far as drama goes, but it's like you can always count on the Jets to give us those storylines rolling into the season.
Not as much as the Cowboys, right?
Oh boy. Oh well.
Yeah. So Jerry obviously came out and said that there's no urgency on our end to get a deal done. then they said he kind of backtracked on what he said, but at the same time, he didn't really backtrack.
You already said it.
Yeah, so what's more of a shit show, the Cowboys or the Jets?
I think the answer to that is just always going to be anything Jerry Jones is involved in. I know at one point in his life, he made magic happen in Dallas for a little bit of a stretch, but that time has long past, and it's now gotten to the point where it's almost just a clown show. Nothing against their players. I think they have a lot of players.
Yep.
But just, he's way too, I don't know. He's way too involved. The decisions are getting just wild as hell. Like, there's literally 31 other teams that will just back up a truck for CeeDee Lamb. Now, granted, some teams can't, just cap space wise. But this should be a no decision. Like, I don't know. There shouldn't have been no question. There shouldn't have even been the thought in your head that there's no urgency to sign this dude.
Yeah, like poor choice of words.
Like, don't even. That's the dumbest thing you could say to a very in prime receiver. We even saw on draft night when he fell to Dallas, we were like, they just got the best receiver in this draft, and he's produced it. And now Jerry's like, fuck him, he's not that important.
Well, that's like I saw something today that said Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones, one of the two, said that he would have to average 12 to 13 targets a game to get what he's asking for. And I'm like, bro, did he not have like 80% of the games last year with like 12 to 13 targets? There was never a game where I looked at the box score and he had like 2 targets. The dude was always double-digit targets. Like, you just set yourself up again, bro. Like stop talking and just say no comment right now. It's being worked on, or it's not being worked on. Like, the more you talk, the more it's like all these other teams are sitting back like, yeah, buddy, let's go. Give us CeeDee Lamb. Keep fucking, and then Micah Parsons is next. He's not going to stay there because Jerry Jones is going to probably say something stupid there too. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Please let this shit show continue to happen.
Yeah, the fact that they're trying to justify not trying to meet his asking price,
right.
First of all, is ridiculous. Trying to justify it with stats like he hasn't been one of the best statistical receivers. But even that, the contract isn't just what he does statistically. He makes the receivers behind him better. He makes Dak better. Not like he doesn't get 12 to 13 targets like you said, but trying to justify that with stats is the stupidest route you could have taken.
He could get that in a quarter if he wanted to.
And I think there were games where there were drives he would get 8 targets. Literally just like 8 slants going down the field, 8 catches, 90 yards.
Yeah, dude. So, I don't know. I
What are they going to come out when Micah asks for money? They're going to be like, look, he has to get 12 to 13 sacks a game.
A game.
In a game for him to get what he's at. It's like trying to justify that. Like, don't overthink it. You have one of the elite receivers, top 2, top 3, top 4, whatever, in the game. Now, I know it's with our previous one, I said I understand from an owner standpoint, but this is one where CD has outperformed the contracts he's been given, so he has every right to want to get that bag. Yeah, I don't know. If he ends up in Kansas City, I wouldn't be sad.
No, fuck that. Fuck that. Not happening. We don't want that. So let's go to this beautiful story. AP poll comes out. KU's ranked 22. All right. Haven't been ranked since 2009. So, I mean, just take that into think about that. 2024, 2009. I think the dark days are done. I think we can officially say the dark days are over. I'm going to say it. I think it's done, right? Even if we don't make – I still think it's an 8-9 win team. All right, I'll go out on a limb and say that. With the peak of maybe, I think I saw something on ESPN, that article that had their ceiling at 12-0. So it's like they're 6-6, but their ceiling was 12-0, which you're not really giving yourself, much leeway there. It's like, hey, they're either going to win 6 games or they're going to go 12-0. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they're going to suck or they're going to do good. Well,
exactly. That's yeah, dude. That's like, hey, if they score more points than their opponents, they're going to win. So another thing is K-State comes in at 19. Or 18, excuse me. Sorry, K-State. Fuck you guys. And then Mizzou comes in at 11. I think Mizzou's I do think Mizzou's overrated. I think they are still fairly high. If you look at this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. They would have them as the 5th SEC team in the top 15.
I mean, it's not SEC. I'm not.
SEC top 11. That's too high. Yeah,
I think they belong in the UK State area. late teens, early 20s. I think that would be fair for them.
Yeah, again, I mean, Ole Miss is still in there, Texas, obviously. That's not to say I don't think Mizzou should be ranked. They should. They have a lot of guys back. Luther Burden's obviously going to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft. Talented receiver. I think Brady Cook's the quarterback. They did lose their running back, the dude that, but they have a lot of good pieces back on defense, I believe. They did lose a couple of corners, and I know in the SEC that's kind of important. Obviously, Rakeshaw got drafted. Denver took Drains Abram, one of the two. So what's your initial thoughts? I mean, Georgia's obviously 1, Ohio State's 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4, Alabama number 5. I mean, Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama, shocker, right?
Yeah, I think my initial thoughts is fuck Missouri. I want to make sure we get that on the record because I don't know if we've ever stated it before. But with that, yeah, I think they're a little high. Again, top 25, but not that high. It's definitely just a preseason SEC bias. If you had a good season last year, decent season in the SEC last year, they just expect you to probably be a little better, which is why all these teams are ranked high. They'll sort themselves out through SEC play, but I think they're starting a lot of them as high as they can so they can try to get at least half of the college football playoff as SEC.
Right. So then you have Texas A&M. Texas A&M at 20. Oklahoma's at 16. Oklahoma State's 17. So, I mean, it's Iowa's ranked 25. Like, come on, man. Are they really going to stay top 25 all season?
Nah, that'll be some weird SEC school. I mean, you're going to have your automatic bids for the conference champs, and then it wouldn't surprise me if literally the rest of the college football playoff is just SEC. I think they would take a 5-loss SEC school over a 2-loss, 1-loss Big 12 or Big 10 school. That's just the way it is. That's what my initial thoughts on the early preseason rankings. They wanted as many SEC schools as high as possible. Not necessarily because they believe that those teams belong there, but it was the long-term outlook of that's where most of our money's going to come from. So we really need to back them.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. So that's going to wrap it up for the hits. We took quite a bit of time on the hits. That was kind of a lot of information packed in one. There are a couple other things I do want to touch on as we kind of get going. We'll kind of end on a little training camp talk. But one thing, and this is another fun thing that I read about Devin Neal, basically trying to set a record, become the KU's all-time leading rusher this season. It's within reach. Basically 765 yards away from being the all-time KU rush leader. I don't always agree with how they were using him last year. Sometimes it was kind of like, why is he only getting 3 or 4 carries? But then you look and he's still at like 10 carries for 120 yards. And you're like, oh, well, we should probably keep running him. But then you're like, okay, well, let's be smart about it. Let's be smart in how we use them. I think he crushes this 765 mark. I really do. And this is awesome for him. He's basically been the floor of the foundation. Lawrence kid. Grew up a KU fan, which weird. Those were the dark times. But to want to stay in Lawrence and kind of see this through when he easily could have probably tested the draft. Where's he rank amongst probably one of your favorites?
As far as Jayhawks, probably up there. I mean, it's hard to just given what like Jake Sharp and McAnderson did for us, just from a trophy and winning standpoint. But it's always fun watching Devin Neal, even during our dark days when he was on the team.
Yeah, because when he got here, we still weren't very good.
Yeah, no, that he's one of the ones that just overall kind of respect. I've seen a few of those on this KU team through the changes. Jason Bean could have very easily transferred and been a QB1 somewhere, but he didn't want to. Ended up getting a shot anyway, but you didn't know that before the season started. Same with Devin Neal. I know he's a Lawrence kid, but these athletes, they still got to think about their future. He very easily could have transferred somewhere to get a better opportunity, more exposure, but he didn't. So I don't know about one of my all-time favorites, but he's up there on one of the players that I respect the most, because in a day where the transfer portal is everything, we've been able to keep quite a bit of the people that other teams would be losing. Maybe Devin Neal he could have gone somewhere to get the more carry, like you said.
Right.
But it could also be a Devin Neal thing where he's like, hey, scale it back a little bit so I'm more explosive for the carries I do get. You don't know the reasoning, the conversation, or anything about behind it, but just from our point of view, he could have very easily gone somewhere, got the workload that some of these other running backs like him get. I mean, Ollie Gordon in Oklahoma State, he gets like 30 catches and 30 carries a game. Everyone knows who that is. I don't know if everyone knows Devin Neal because of that, and he's more than okay with it, so I respect it.
Yeah, I think this is a season where I don't necessarily think KU is going to fly under the radar anymore. I think that time's passed. Yeah, I don't think he's like one of my top 3 favorites, but I do think he's like he's up there still. Even through our bad days, we still had some really fun players to watch. And then you think back to Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, Daryl Stuckey, Ben Heaney, Joe Deneen. Even like Mike Rivera and all those guys that we had on those. So I mean, that defense was loaded with Mangino, and then over the last couple of years. So yeah, I mean, he's still one of my favorites. He's just not the guy, not my favorite. But yeah, like you said, in a world of transfers, he could have easily left, but he stuck it out, seeing it through. And that's why I think it's a big season for us this year. Super excited about it. So sticking with that, reading a little tweet talking about our boy Dominic Puni. This guy had a breakdown of film on Puni. Said Puni played 25 snaps and looked good for the 49ers at right guard. He said he's not sure why there's a reason he won't be the starter when that time comes this season. I know we were high on Puni when we did our draft review. God damn, that dude was fun to watch at KU, man. And he helped the Devin Neal in the run game so much. Played so many snaps and didn't give up a sack. Could have been a little higher of a draft pick, but just where he plays, and he could have went to a better situation.
Yeah, my favorite thing about him was the more you hear an offensive lineman's name when you're watching a game, usually the worse you are. You never heard his name during the games unless they were talking about how he's given up no sacks or anything. Yeah, I mean, he is in a perfect situation. I loved watching him at KU. If you've listened to us from the beginning, you know that I'm a big fan of trench play, offense and defense. That's been a huge turnaround for this KU team. Offensive line play, getting a little better defensive line play as well. Not as far along there as the offensive line has come, but
getting there.
It's getting there. But yeah, I'm excited for him. I am heartbroken that he's going to lose the Super Bowl to the Chiefs this year. That's just how.
Maybe he blocks Chris Jones unlike the other guys.
I mean, look, I love Dominic Puni, but try to be realistic a little bit here. Not a lot of people do block him well, but I do love the opportunity for him. Not surprised he's playing guard. Kind of a really big tackle. You can get away with that in college. It's a little different against those edge rushers in the NFL.
And for his size, he's going to be able to pull and do all those things that Shanahan wants to do with the zone schemes too. So
yeah, he's going to be a mauler.
Yeah.
If he does start, it wouldn't surprise me if on a lot of CMC highlights, you're going to see CMC right on the back of him, like he always does, and has his hand right on his back, just kind of following the big guy. So if he starts, that's awesome. It'll give us another reason to kind of enjoy watching the Niners games, but I'm not surprised at all. The dude's a stud.
Yeah, so let's go to another KU player that we were super hyped on during our draft preview. Austin Booker. What's that?
Fucker should have came back.
My man, dude. That's what I'm saying. That. Austin Booker versus the Bills, 2.5 sacks, 5 pressures, 18.2% pass rush win rate, and then graded out as 79.7 PFF grade. Damn, he looked good. He really did. He even looked good in their first game in the Hall of Fame game. We knew he was going to be all right. I don't know if we expected him to play at this level quite yet, but I still think it's preseason, right? He's still raw. But the guys that he's going to get to learn under while he's there, and I think he's going to be in the rotation, and I think he's going to get some good quality playing time to give some of those guys a spill, right? So again, as much as we loved him and much as we wanted him to come back, he's doing great things too. And this is a guy that we're really going to keep an eye on this season, or at least I am. I know you probably will too. Damn, yeah, we really, honestly, our defense, if we would have had him back this year at KU, dude, man, we would have been fucking flawless.
Yeah, with the corners we have, no, I think if he keeps this up, pass rush is one of the things that if you can provide, you'll always have a spot in the league somewhere. Pass rush is a premium, and I know it's preseason, whatever it is, but pass rush is something these teams take serious. It doesn't matter who it's against, what team it's against, whatever. You provide pass rush, even pressure. It's gone away from just sacks being the kind of know all end all of edge rushers, QB pressures, batted balls, setting the edge. I do think he will be in the rotation from day one. And if he does even half of what he's done so far in the preseason, he'll become a regular. So I remember when the Bears drafted him, they almost celebrated more in their draft room on that draft pick than they did Caleb Williams or Odunze. Like, they were stoked.
Yeah, they were out of picks.
Yeah, and it's not one of those where they thought, but, when they were asked about it, they'd said that the potential was there. It was some of the quickest get up that they've seen, and it was a great value for that pick. And I think for that reason, like, they were excited, they loved him. For that reason, he's going to get all the opportunity in the world, and it's going to be fun to see if he takes advantage of it.
Yeah, and the Bears have always had a solid defense, solid defensive ends. Yeah, dude, like they got something, and I'm excited to see how the season goes for him and Puni, obviously both of those guys. So let's kind of transition over the last 20 minutes or so, talk some training camp stuff. Chiefs had their first preseason game. I know it was a little sucks when you lose people to injuries, so I think that kind of took some the wind out of the sails a little bit. I don't think the offense looked as good as they were hoping. Obviously, they have higher standards than other teams, and that's why Andy still plays his starters. In a day and age where coaches just don't play their guys, Andy says, no, they're going to play. You had a chance to watch a little bit of that first part of the game. Anything stick out to you?
Yeah. Not that I'm saying the injury doesn't suck, but that wasn't even my least favorite part of it. My biggest concern, because I think it could be an issue all year, is the battle for the second cornerback position. There's an opportunity there. We obviously have L'Jarius Sneed shoes to fill, or if you even want to move it around to where McDuffie's filling his, and now we need to fill McDuffie's. There's opportunity for the second cornerback spot, and every single one of them just shit the bed. There's no better way to put it. Williams looked lost on his couple targets when he was guarding Brian Thomas Jr. I know I said that's the offensive rookie of the year, but still, he looked lost. Not good. Nobody really stepped up, and we're just talking about our second corner. One of the Chiefs' strengths the last few years was having 2, 3, 4 corners that you could count on week in and week out. And after that first game, I'm like, shit, after McDuffie, we might be hurting. That's more of a concern to me than the injury to Brown so far, because we're at the point you're not going to go out and sign an all-pro. I mean, you could go sign Stephon Gilmore, probably for a little more money than you want, maybe a little older than what you want. I was pretty happy across the board. Other than that, linebackers were a little suspect. They gave up some pretty easy passing yards over the middle of the field and covering ETN. Again, talented people, but you're going to face that every week. So again, Spags' defenses usually start a little slow. I get that, but I'm a little more worried now about the defense than I was coming in. I knew losing Sneed would hurt a little bit, but we still have the 2 rookies that started as rookies in a Super Bowl for us, where I'm like, one of them will step up. It hasn't happened yet, so I am curious. That's what I'm going to be watching the next couple weeks, and probably early on. I mean, we start out fast. We don't start out with any cupcakes. We come out against elite teams. So
yeah.
You better figure that shit out fast. I know we're dealing with some injuries in the cornerback room of people we thought would take it, but that's still no excuse. Williams' experience, Watson's experience, like, these dudes are experienced, and I really hope someone ends up stepping up.
Yeah, so I'm kind of just going peeking the box score. Obviously, box scores mean shit in preseason, but I just kind of get a little bit of an idea. Mahomes still went 3 for 4, but 27 yards. Yeah, and again, it is week 1 of the preseason. So obviously you're going to have some concerns after week 1. Now you want to see, does it go into week 2, or is this stuff that could be fixed? Is it just guys maybe trying to get some game legs under them? It could be as simple as that. Sometimes it's not so easy, not so simple. The one I did want to talk about was Carson Steele. That seemed to be the talk of Kansas City the day after. I had no idea who the kid was. He's apparently from Indiana. 21 years old. Wears the sausages number, so I don't know if that's okay with Chiefs fans. But after you see a couple of those runs in that game, I think you are absolutely okay with that. A couple angry runs. So he should be one to watch, especially with the running back room that, still has some question marks.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of always find let's be honest, he's probably not going to make the team, but you always kind of find those backups that you kind of fall in love with watching in the preseason. The one that comes to mind for me for the Chiefs in kind of recent history was every year Frankie Hammond would go off in the preseason. We're like, hey, we found a quality receiver. And then it's like, yeah, practice squad, bro. Like, you were fun to watch, but like, let's be real, his preseason star. I mean, he runs hard, could be fun to watch. I don't know if there's a path to a roster spot for him, but again, in preseason where you're not going to see starters a lot or at all, you kind of find these dudes to hop on to get psyched up to watch these games. So fun runs. He probably should change his number. That's a good call out. Why it hasn't been retired yet is beyond me, but whatever. But yeah, I'm excited to watch him for 2 more weeks and then probably never hear about him again until next preseason.
Yeah, so let's talk about a couple guys that may be on the bubble. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney. One or both? What do you see kind of, what is your thoughts, or maybe what do you think, or what do you want to happen between those two guys?
Well, what I want to happen is for them to never have been a Chief in the first place. Since that happened, I don't think either get cut. We gave up a little bit of decent draft capital for Toney, so I think we're going to ride it out and just see if anything ever comes of it. Same with Sky Moore. Not saying either one's going to play a huge role, but given how there's already one injury to the receiving room, I don't see either one getting cut. They're familiar with the system. Those won't be the worst 6th or 7th receiver to keep on a roster. If I had to pick one, I hope we keep Toney over Moore. Just a little more potential there still. Andy's creative in getting the people the ball. I know it's hard. I know what he's done for us is kind of pissed Chiefs fans off, but when the ball got in his hands on that punt return against the Eagles, he reminded us what he can do when the ball's in his hands. So if one has to go, I hope it's Sky Moore. I don't think either will, but I still think we're holding out hope for the playmaking Toney can provide.
Yeah, so let's talk about John Gruden. Let's make some Raider fans pissed. Front and center at Chiefs camp, wearing Chiefs gear, talking to Pat Mahomes and Andy and those guys. Get whether you believe what he did or not, or what he did or didn't do. The dude's still a genius. He's a great coach. People seem to forget that him and Andy were on the same staff. They kind of come from the same tree. And two, I mean, if you think Andy really gives a shit what most people think, then you obviously haven't really paid attention to Big Red and that. So honestly, it's just another brain for Mahomes to pick, right? So it's just like, I mean, what more does he need to work on? Well, there's still some footwork stuff. I mean, if he hasn't figured it out by now, he doesn't have to. But just certain things, certain coverages. I mean, he even admits that he still struggles at times reading coverages. What's John Gruden good at? Reading coverages. I mean, what did he make those guys do back in the day on Gruden's QB camp? Read coverages. So, one, I think it's hilarious, even as a Broncos fan, just to see Raiders fans all pissed off. And I mean, come on, you guys obviously didn't care about him that much, right? Most of you guys wanted him fired after that last season anyways, just because, he's not. I mean, he didn't really do much for him. Again, he still made Derek Carr a pretty damn good quarterback. So, any thoughts on old Chucky being at Chiefs camp?
Yeah, I mean, he's not affiliated with any team anymore, so he can do whatever the hell he wants, honestly. But the fact that Raiders fans are getting pissed off about just their, trying to talk shit about it, first of all, they're the ones that were actually just disrespecting the Chiefs by saying they had the blueprint. They were the ones actively mocking Patrick Mahomes with a puppet or Muppet or whatever. I know it's a rivalry and it's all good and fun, but, if you're going to dish it out, this isn't even taking it. The dude can do whatever he wants. He's not your actual coach.
He got fired. Your organization fired him.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is if, I would get it if, Antonio Pierce was at Chiefs camp in Chiefs gear. Okay, hold the fuck, what's going on here?
Yeah, well. Yeah.
Hold on. The current coach. But, you fired him. He's not associated with you at all whatsoever. And hell, maybe he did want to be a little savage. Maybe he is a little pissed off at you and this is way. But even if it is, it's your fault. Now I know actions have consequences, whatever. If he did something to get fired, I get it. It's fine. but you did fire him. He's not associated with the team at all. He can do what he wants. I think it's funny. I enjoy anytime Raiders fans get worked up. It's going to be a fun couple games against them this year. Really started last year. I know we're their Super Bowl, so it'll be big time for them. But I hope they remember we actually won the Super Bowl in their stadium, so fuck them.
I wonder if the Chiefs, when the Raiders come to Arrowhead, if it's going to show like behind the scenes in the Raiders locker room. Like maybe they're taking a shit on their floor or something, and just like, Raiders, what's it like celebrating in your own locker room? Oh wait, we've already done that for you guys. Like, we broke it in for you guys already. So if you find some empties in your ceiling, sorry, we got kind of crazy. Yeah, I hate both teams, I really do, but at the same time, I love watching them both play each other, just because it is a good competitive game. I mean, you're always going to have that chance of the Chiefs just completely running the score up, and that might actually happen this year. I truly believe that the Chiefs will try to run the score up if they can.
The moment Patrick was like, it will be handled, I was like, oh shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, we're talking like 42, 49, nothing. I mean, nothing about the Raiders offense scares me right now. I haven't really had a chance to look at any of their preseason stuff, but I know Denver has a losing streak against the Raiders, but again, our running backs don't fumble the ball at the 1 yard line. We beat the Raiders. Russell Wilson doesn't hold the ball for 8 seconds and take a sack to end the game instead of trying to throw the ball away. Things happen, and it's still the Raiders, right? Yeah, that kind of cracked me up when I saw Gruden just chilling. I was like, is that really Gruden? And then they got a close up, and I was like, holy shit, that is really Gruden. Awesome. Like, cool. But at the same time, no football. No, him and Andy Reid go way, way, way back. Yeah, come on. I mean, you got to be smarter than that. So let's wrap it up.
Better football minds in the league. So, like, honestly, from just a football standpoint, I'm okay with it. From a Raiders being pissed off about it, even better. But like you said, like, those are two of the best football minds on the planet. So just from a purely just getting better and trying to use every resource you have, I love it.
Yeah, bro, get me in a room with those guys just for an hour and let me just listen to them talk. I don't have to say anything. Like, just let me listen to them talk for an hour. You're not going to find many more like that. So it's like, yeah, Patrick was probably like, fuck, dude, this is awesome. Like, hey, you're not on the other sideline finally. And so, yeah, what's up? So, all right, let's talk a couple Broncos things real quick.
Nah.
Yeah. There's a lot of training camp stuff that I'm excited about. I'm obviously Bo Nix one of them. Two, I'm kind of excited to see what happens with the running back room. Jaleel McLaughlin looks faster, looks stronger. I think Samaje Perine is going to be the odd man out this year, so I think that's going to be a good veteran running back on the market. I just don't think Denver has the room to keep all those running backs, and I think that Sean wants those young guys in there with Javonte. Another one is the receivers. Troy Franklin's looked like complete dog shit in training camp, which is wild, being how he was the 4th round pick, and Vele, our 7th round pick, is actually picking up really good chemistry with the ones. So training camp's wild. It doesn't matter what you 1st round, 7th round, undrafted. If you have a good camp, it's going to show and you're going to stand out. And I know Sean Payton's been raving over Vele. I still have really big concerns about the defense, the corner, especially the corner position. And we'll get more into that at a different time as we get closer to the season. But let's talk about Bo Nix real quick. 15 of 21, 125 and a touchdown. Denver scored on 4 of 5 of his drives. I don't know he has preseason, but points have been hard to come by for Denver the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of bullet point everything you did. Sean Payton in his career has proven he doesn't give a shit if you're a 1st round, 7th round, or undrafted. If you can ball, you can ball. He plays no favorites. And I think that probably is in the minds of some of those players that they brought in. That's usually why he always had really talented rosters. Because your job isn't guaranteed, it's not promised, it's earned, no matter what your draft status, contract, whatever is. So if that 7th rounder is coming in and balling out, then with Sean Payton, he has a legitimate chance to stick around and actually have a role. I think that's a good start for Denver to get back in the right direction. Don't linger too long on the players you shouldn't, just given status or whatnot. So I think that's good for Denver. I think he nailed it. I still think there's not many holes on offense outside of quarterback, but I do think there's still some concerns defensively. I think you're spot on. Some young athletes across the board, minus linebacker. So there's potential there. And then Bo Nix, I mean, I'm trying to remember my dark days with the Chiefs with no quarterback play. I know typically I would say just don't get pumped up over preseason, But at the same time, the shit you guys have been through post Peyton Manning, I don't think having a little bit of hope or optimism or excitement over the first time seeing your first round quarterback, I think that's fair. I don't think it means he's going to be an immediate all-pro MVP. There will be growing pains. There is with everyone. Patrick Mahomes, there's growing pains with them all. Peyton Manning, his rookie year sucked ass. I think that worked out.
I think he'd take that for his career. I'm sure he's so pissed off that he could have had like 40 more touchdowns and like 30 less interceptions thanks to his rookie year.
Yeah, so I think it was a good first step from Bo Nix. I'm not ready to write him in the record books or elite yet, but there's no reason to not be excited, especially given what you guys have had to go through. The stats maybe don't necessarily mean as much, but watching, just seeing decision making, the accuracy, that's not, 15 to 21, you would take that all day in a real NFL game from a completion percentage standpoint. Scoring on 4 or 5 drives, you would take that. So maybe not so much statistically, but just the quick decision making, the accuracy, no turnovers, which I don't know if he had any picks or fumbles, but
he fumbled a snap, but I think he got it back.
Yeah, so it's those other things that you kind of look for. Just given you don't know, especially if with him not being the starter, you don't know the competition he was going against. So Sean Payton's smart enough to know that, like, even if his stats sucked, he just look, was he throwing it to the right place? Was he making the right read?
Yeah, that's all preseason's about.
Yeah, yep. That's what you're looking for. Decision making, good accuracy, correct reads. I don't know if they're giving him enough leeway yet to call audibles or hot routes or any of that stuff. If they are, then you're looking, did he make the right adjustments, whatever. So I didn't
making the correct hot routes, making the correct line calls. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to. I didn't see anything or hear anything about if he was making. I do know that they give him that in practice. He's able to check and make the reads and do that. I don't know if they did in the game. I don't know if they were just like, hey, let's just take it easy for this first one and let's work on maybe that next week, because he's starting against Green Bay this week. Huge week for him. If there's ever a chance for him to make separation, it's through this joint practice with the Packers this week on top of his start Saturday.
Yeah, and again, I think we'll see not necessarily the final stat line, but I think if he just goes out and makes the smart plays, the correct plays, just stays within himself. Whether he pans out or not, there's no denying that he has the abilities, but not trying to overdo it and just stay within himself. I think he'll be fine. I do think this is the week with him starting for him to earn the starting job. So I do think it's a big week for Denver, big week for Bo Nix. I think after this week, you'll have a really good idea who's going to be under center week 1.
Yeah, no more goddamn injuries for anybody.
Anyone.
Not on anybody. No team. We don't want any more injuries.
Not even the Raiders.
We want the season to go. We want everyone healthy for the start of the season. I want everyone healthy next weekend for our draft. So no more injuries, please, for the love of God. That's going to wrap up this week. Super excited about this episode. Next week, we are going to hopefully have a guest on, Blitz 6 podcast, joining us, talk some college football. He gave his Heisman winner and his conference championship winners. So we're going to discuss those. I won't tell you guys who he picked or what he did. We'll save that for next week. But I'm super excited to talk about it. He's a guy that knows some college football. So remember, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, now YouTube. We're getting a few views on YouTube. Hopefully some graphics will stay on this time when we put them on. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. Come find us. Like us on Instagram. Give us your feedback, your comments. What do you want to hear us talk about? We got college football talk next week. We got KU preview, KU week 1 preview the following week. And then there's the Chiefs-Ravens talk. What? Football? Football's here. Football's here. So until next week, we'll see you guys then.